Hey guys, Robo here with another Hero Colosseum video. This time I'm doing something that's been requested quite a lot in recent videos, and I've had a few messages asking it as well, and it's about deck building. So I'm going to do quite a series on this. It's not going to be a one or two videos just like that. I'll probably do it, I'll make one most of the serious decks I make. So before I go into it, I thought I'd go over a few things that I do before I start actually putting any figures in, and that's the first thing is deciding, is this deck going to be a serious deck, a deck that's a bit of fun with a theme behind it, or am I testing out new figures? Now, recently, my most recent sort of deck was based around trying out Future Trunks, which you saw in the last video. So it was trying this figure out. So when it's in that scenario, all I end up doing is taking a current deck and just replacing one of the figures and trying Trunks in and just seeing sort of how he does. And he's performed well. I'm starting to actually come up with decks based around sort of him now. You've then got your theme decks. So for example, I've got Cell there, so you could have an Android themed deck, where it's pretty obvious which sort of figures get selected for you, because I mean I've got the androids at level 60 ready to do that one. I mean I could cheat and just use the Android 17 from Super and Swimsuit 18, which are fantastic figures, but that's not what I'm going to do with that. And then of course you've got your serious decks, which usually involves this lady right here, Vados. Usually involves one of these two, Ultra Instinct Gokus, because you've got to run them now, and a lot of people tend to have a Piccolo in that serious deck. Personally I don't, but that's just the general consensus nowadays, that you have to have those figures in your better decks if you want to win, which isn't necessarily true. Now the next thing you're going to want to do is to pick a figure to base your deck around, because there's got to be one figure that you've seen throughout all of your list and you think, yeah, I'm going to make a deck around that one. So, I mean, for example, I made the Janemba deck. What other video did I make? I made the Ultimate Gohan deck. And it's just things like that that inspire me. The first one that actually did inspire me to make a whole deck around a certain character was actually Super Saiyan 4 Goku here. When I initially got him, I knew immediately I wanted to make a deck around him, so I just looked at his posing skill, and it was a case of building a deck that would benefit him and allow him to influence the game heavily, which ended up being quite a defensive deck. Now that's the next thing you need to consider after you've chosen what kind of deck and what figure you want to focus on. It's, are you going to be running a slow defensive deck, a quick heavy hitting deck, or are you going for an 0-1 skill deck? Your choice there influences what figures will be available to you. So if you're going for a slower deck, you're going to want figures like Gogeta, as much as I hate to admit it, probably Vados, Goku Black Rosé's good for a defense deck, Bardock. You can argue Vegito because of his posing skill. Piccolo, obviously, Whis. If you want a full damage deck, then you want ones like Blue Vegeta here. Jiren is another good damage figure. Obviously, you've got Kid Buu, who I'd always advise, and then you've got your Godkus, Champas, etc. And then for your 0-1 skill decks, you're going to need, where the hell is my... There he is. You're going to want two of these, because they're going to give you 30% to your trigger, to your ultimate attack gauge. So two of them 60% already. You leave them at level 1 so they die, and then that's pretty much guaranteed 100%. You just put some ultimate gauge up turn 2 skills on your other figures to make sure that your opponent doesn't drop it, and then you stick Future Gohan, Jiren, Golden Frieza, one of those guys as your 0-1 skiller, and basically you win unless your opponent has a good counter to it, like Ultra Instinct Goku here. But those are the basics. I mean, I'm not going to go into character skills because they're very dependent on the rest of your deck, so you can't exactly say which ones are necessarily better. I mean, the obvious ones that are good are your attack ups or your ups on back squares or front squares, and your up second skills, and obviously your 1 skills. But there's other ones like Videl here I run the ultimate gauge down on, which is very good for countering people who focus on ultimate attacks at the miniature, which is a lot of people. Same with Android 17 here. He sits in the back and every turn he's dropping the ultimate gauge. So that's their roles in the team. So I suppose I'll go and show you what I've got. So this is what I'm running, or this is what I'm building, I should say, at the minute. A ultra rare non-Super Saiyan team, I guess. And yes, Ultra Instinct Goku counts because he's not a Super Saiyan, he's just Ultra Instinct. So this deck came about because of this Goku Black figure right here. He is very overlooked now. He's quite an old figure, he's one of the original ones, and just look at that health. And that's, I mean, he's still got another 39 levels to go into him when I can have the XP to do that. Yes, the rest of his stats are not great at the minute, but that plus 750 to his attack and minus 10% damage dealt by attacker is insane. Because he's going to get hit a few times, and that's going to be buffing up his attack. And with the right skills on him, then he is going to become quite a little force of nature. After that, it was, so who was I going to build the deck? I had a few options. I was gonna try and do some kind of Goku Black Zamasu deck, which you could kind of do, but I decided to go with this one. So next one I went for was, I call him Spirit Bomb Goku basically, and this was mainly because I've never actually used this figure. I've never used this figure in a deck. I never really saw it as a fantastic figure because, I don't know, it just never seemed to stick out as doing anything particularly well. But boosted attack by 500, gets 15% to the ultimate attack gauge every turn. You know, that's quite a hefty amount after a couple turns building up. Plus, he's relatively tanky, so he can take some hits, especially when I get these sort of up second skills on them. So Bardock was next because, let's face it, he is an amazing figure at the minute. Has a lot of health, does some pretty good damage, and of course, when you've got these skills on, he gets incredibly tanky. I'm not sure if I'll change that or not. I was tempted to put a defense up front or back one, but because he's not exactly set in his position, he'll either be back, middle or top right, and I'm not sure. It'll all depend upon who I'm against, so I think I'll leave him with those. Next was Future Trunks. I'm actually using the slower but heavier hitter for obvious reasons. In this deck I'm not going to be going first, so there's literally no point in me building a speed figure. The only reason I would be if I was going to run an 01 skill, but I'm not going to rely on that because I have Ultra Instinct Goku here to sort of counter out the 01 skills, so that's what got Future Trunks in this deck. I think I prefer the other version of him, but this one, he's relatively tanky, really, with 5,500 health and 1,500 defense, good damage, and he's slow enough that it won't really affect the rest of the team. So, because look, everything here is slow. Like, he's my only quick figure. And finally, it's Ultra Instinct Goku. Now, Ultra Instinct Goku is in there, obviously. I mean, he hits incredibly hard for a figure that has over 10,000 health. He cripples enemy ultimate gauge sort of users, so that's another great reason to have him. And when you put these up second skills on him, I mean, he's getting an extra 1,000 on top of his 10%, so he's getting, basically on his first turn, he's getting 8,000 attack with an extra 20% damage dealt when he goes second. This Goku absolutely annihilates anything put in front of him. I do slightly prefer the attack version of Goku still a bit more, because even if your opponent is running a Vados, he's still probably going to kill something, but this Goku is pretty insane for something that has 10,000 health. So I think his ultimate's weird though when I've seen it. Just doesn't seem right. But that's the team I'm going to be running. As for skills, it's going to be, for the most part, it's going to be up second skills. I do need to buy a few more up second skills to actually equip this deck, and I will be buying a few ultimate gauge down every turns, because I'll probably buy two, one on Bardock and one on Goku Black, because I've got Goku there to reduce their ultimates, but I'd still rather not risk it, because if by some weird circumstance I've got Goku killed prior to that, I'm not going to survive an 0-1 skill. So, but that's how that deck is going to be set up. I will use this in a future video. I'm actually going to grind out some XP first, because I want to get all three of these to 99 before I start going into to matches. There's another thing to do, guys. Always make sure your figures are trained, because there's no point you going into a match with untrained figures. Even if you just get them to 60, that's enough. But I've gone up against people and they have level 15 figures, and I understand wanting to play online. I do. I get it. But the fact of the matter is, if you go online with level 15 figures, you're just going to get blown away and you're not going to learn anything. Especially, I mean, there's so many battles here you can do in free battle that you can easily build up some XP on. If you've got the Vegeta that hits the enemy directly, you can go for Vados and near enough one-shotter. Or if you've got a heavy hitter, you can 0-1 skill on Vegeta and just go down the right hand flank and you will one-shot him, because that's what I do with Blue Vegeta. But that's my first deck I'm going to build. This is a fun themed deck. It's not a particularly effective deck, or at least I don't know. It might be, but that's what's built it. I've built it for a bit of fun and just try out this theme, because as you can see, I mean, decks that have built with a certain purpose in mind are ones like down here, with this deck that I've shown off a few times, and this one up here. Next time I will show off defensive decks, which will be actually based on probably my first serious deck I made on here, which involved Super Saiyan 4 Goku. So stick around for that. I hope this has helped you guys out a bit. If you've got any questions, ask them below, and I will try and answer them in a future deck building video. It won't be the next one, because I'm actually going to record that directly after this one, so it'll be in the third deck building video that I'll answer them. But I'm always happy to answer any questions and give any help I can. I don't know why people are so sort of quick to take my word on these things. I mean, look guys, I've only got 249 games or something under my belt. No, 259. No, oh whatever, 57. Math. I used to be good at that. No, 257 games under my belt, and I haven't got exactly the greatest win-loss ratio. But I appreciate you guys sort of asking all your questions and believing me in this much. I will say again, check out Son Santana on Twitch. You'll learn a lot from him. You can go over and check Unleashed on YouTube. He has some great content as well, and he's a lot better at this game than I am. There's other great Hero Colosseum YouTubers out there, so check them out as well, because like I say, you'll learn a lot more from them than you probably will from me. But thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe for some more of my Hero Colosseum matches, and hopefully I'll see you all guys next time.